Hello everyone, this is Matteo with Maquinista, and today we're going to be talking about the exciting X1 grinder by Sanremo. The X1 is the first grinder developed by Sanremo themselves. This was all done in-house with a bunch of new technology. The company had been working with Fiorenzato before to release versions of their already existing grinders with certain software changes, certain improvements here and there, but they were still Fiorenzato grinders. Now the X1 is fully Sanremo developed in-house by them, and it packs a punch. It is full with technology that we haven't seen in other grinders before. So I feel like the X1 is the beginning of a new era of grinders for espresso, for coffee shop operations, and for higher volume operations. In this video, we're not going to go in depth on how to program the X1. We're going to make separate videos for that, going into the settings and explaining a little bit more in depth all of the options that you have when it comes to the X1. Today, I'm just going to talk about how it compares to having a traditional grinder like the Mater grinders, like the Fiorenzatos or the Malconics that are out there everywhere. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of the difference that this machine brings to the market. So to start, it's absolutely stunning. It is beautiful. It has a boxy design compared to like the round design that we're used to. It's more comparable to like a Mythos design or something along those lines. But the most interesting thing about this grinder is that it's going to be a 3-in-1 grinder. So it has two hoppers at the top that we can use for two different coffees. It's going to have two different settings for those two, which we've seen before in a few grinders from Malconi. But the way it works after the hopper is where everything changes. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it later. If you're not satisfied with having two hoppers in one grinder, well, you have a third one. This one also has a bypass grinder that you can use for up to 250 grams of coffee. So if you want to grind, let's say, your beans to use for the drip coffee in-house, if you want to use this for single shots, if you want to use this for retail coffee bags that a customer wants you to grind for them, you can do it with the third hopper here that is basically a bypass. Now keep in mind, each one of these hoppers, let's say it's 3, they're going to have independent settings, so you can save different profiles. Let's say you have 6 different coffees that you can throw in here. You can save those 6 different recipes as far as revolutions per minute, as far as distance of the discs, and as far as dose. You can save those settings so you have all 6, 7, 8, 10 coffees, whatever it is, saved on your machine, and it's ready to grind those for you as soon as you throw in the coffee in the bypass, or as soon as you push one of the 2 buttons for the 2 hoppers up top. So this is not going to grind all 3 coffees in the same setting. This is going to allow you to save a bunch of settings in the system so it's ready for you for whatever method you're going to be using to brew your coffee. So basically the X1 not only provides you 3 different hoppers to grind coffee, it also provides you with a full-on memory that will save every single setting that you put in on all these 3 hoppers. So it's absolutely incredible what you can do with it if you're a coffee shop that serves a bunch of single origins, or you pull a lot of single shots where you don't really have a hopper. Let's say you have 10 coffees that you offer, you can throw them all in here and have the 10 different recipes saved in your machine depending on which coffee you're putting in the bypass. So it's really, really interesting, and also for retail operations and for your filter coffee. This grinder is going to be capable of grinding from really fine espresso to cold brew beans. And you can save those settings for any of the hoppers here. You can use them on the bypass. You can, let's say, have your right side set for filter coffee and your left side set for your house espresso. And you can change those during the operation. Another really cool thing about this grinder is that it has a system where it tears the beans before it grinds. A bunch of the grinders that we see out there today, like the grind by weight grinders by Malconi or Mater or these companies, they all have a scale attached to where you put your portafilter in the grinder. So it's basically at the bottom, and then it tears with the portafilter, and whatever it drops in, it keeps adding up, it keeps tearing it until it reaches your dose, and it makes the grinder stop. The X1 doesn't have a scale down here, it has a scale up here. So basically what this grinder is going to do is it's going to pre-dose your coffee into that scale. Let's say you want to work with 18 grams of coffee, which is a very standard number. It'll always fill it up with 18 grams, and it's already there for you, ready to be ground when you need the shot. So basically all you have to do is you put in your portafilter, you lower your chute here, you push the button, and it's already tiered, it's already ready to go. It throws it into the grinder, which is back here, and then it comes out of your chute. The whole operation takes just a few seconds. And while this is grinding in the grinding chamber, there's another 18 grams that are coming into the preloaded chamber ready for you to pull the next shot. So this grinder is going to be able to preload the dose at the scale right above the grinding chamber, and right when you're done grinding one shot, it's ready to pull the next one. It's really, really interesting. And I feel like there's a really important change that happens when the system was developed, is that the weight of the hopper, of the beans in the hopper, are not going to change your dose. They're not going to affect your times, your flavor of the coffee, because as many of you know, when we have hoppers like this in a coffee shop and it's, let's say it's really busy and it's getting halfway, our times start to change. That's why they now created these systems where the grinder communicates with the machine and the machine keeps adjusting the grind setting. But most people don't have that, let's say, cloud adjustment that's happening with Sanremo, with La Marzocco, with a few brands out there, and I know we're going to see more of that. But this one saves you the trouble of going through that change because of the weight of your beans in the hopper. Of course, there's going to be changes in every single grinder out there because of humidity and temperature that impacts your coffee, so it gets a little bit more brittle or not. So this is one thing that we have to adjust for, but your dose out of this grinder is always going to be exactly the same, just like a grind by weight grinder. It is also really cool that you can change between those two. You can turn off the pre-dosing right here, and then you can switch between, let's say, two different espresso profiles, or you can have, like I said, filter coffee on one side, espresso in the other, and then use this one for your retail bags or for your single dose pools or something like that. And when it comes to the settings that you can save here, you can save three different things. You're going to save your standard dose, like let's say you want 18 grams. You're going to tell the machine how close you want the discs to be in microns. The standard is going to be at around 120, 150 for espresso, depending on the bean you're using, of course. And then if you want to do like a filter coffee, you're looking more at 400, 500, around that area. But of course, you have to play with it and your coffee to see where it's going to be. And then it also allows you to change the revolutions per minute, the RPM that motor is going to deliver to the burst. So you can start at 1,000 RPM, 1,200 RPM, and 1400 RPM. The revolutions per minute on your motor definitely affect the aromas in your coffee, so you have to check which one is going to be best for the coffees that you're going to be working with. So you can save all these things to every coffee that you have. You can assign a specific RPM, you can assign a specific dose, and you can assign a specific disc distance or burr distance for each one of the coffees that you have. And then these are all going to be saved in the settings in here, so you can pull up that memory anytime you want to grind that specific coffee. Aside from all these incredible features, the X1 has big 98mm burrs, so it's going to grind fast. And those burrs are vertical. So it's basically like using a Guatemala or an EK43 or something like that in a much more digital format. It is a very low retention grinder too, so you're not going to have a bunch of coffee left over in the chute. And it allows you to remove the portafilter holder, so you can put a coffee bag under it and fill it up. You know, you can throw in the 250 grams, 10 ounces or 12 ounce or 8 ounce coffee bags in here. You put the coffee bag down here. You can remove the bell as well that's in the chute, and then just fill up your retail coffee bag. So that's super, super practical if you want to grind some retail coffee without going to a GH2 or an EK43 or something like that. And another feature that I really love, as you can see here, it takes pretty much the same amount of space that a regular 83mm, 80, 83, 85mm burr grinder takes. So if I had my tray down here, it'll take exactly the same amount of space, the same width. This one is actually a little bit wider than the X1. So you're gonna have 3 grinders, 2 hopper grinders, and a bypass, all ground by weight in the space of 1 grinder. So I feel like that's where the X1 really shines. Some coffee shops don't have the counter space to have 3 different grinders, or they don't have counter space in the back to have an EK or a GH or a Guatemala or something like that, or a bun grinder, and then have, like a decaf or espresso grinder. They can do all of this with just 1 machine. So if you throw the numbers of buying 2 80, 85 or 90 or whatever millimeter grinders that are grind by weight, plus buying a shop grinder for your retail coffee, or buying a single dose grinder, if you add all these up, the X1 is priced at a really really good price point. So at the moment of making this video, this is a $6,900 grinder. Now, if you look at the grind by weight grinders that are out there that can do things like the X1 does, they're all going to be around $35,000, $3,000, maybe $4,000. It just depends on the brand, where you're from. But if you need 2 grind by weight grinders plus a shop grinder, you're going to be saving money with the X1. Now, this is the first version of the X1. I'm pretty sure Sanremo is going to be working on it. Sanremo is really good at adding software updates, so this one you can definitely update with the updates that they release. This is also a Wi-Fi operated grinder, so it will be able to connect to your machine and actually dial in for you as the shots are changing. So this technology is coming to the X1, and there's a bunch of features that I'm sure they're going to add in the future, and they're going to come up with new revised versions of the X1. But so far I haven't seen a grinder that makes such a big difference in the coffee shop world as the X1 does. So I'm really excited to have it here and show it to you guys, the first unit that came to us here in the US. And like I said, this one's staying here in California, so if you guys want to see it, if you want to see it in action, you can definitely go to Minerva in Hermosa Beach, who have allowed us to use their grinder for this video, and check it out for yourself. It is definitely a beautiful grinder, something that I haven't seen before. There's a few grinders out there that have like this shape, but none of them can do what the X1 can do. So I'm really happy to show it to you. Let me know if you have any questions regarding the X1, any comments, put them below. Make sure to give us a follow. We would really, really appreciate that, and give the like to the video if you enjoyed the content. Let me know if you have any questions. We're going to make some further videos on the X1, so I'm really looking forward to that. Thank you guys for joining me today here in the Maquinista channel, and I hope to see you guys in the future. Bye bye.